When you go into the gym, the goal should be to seek failure. That is the place where failure is the goal. We don't want to step on stage and fail, or we don't want to go somewhere else and fail, but in the gym, that's how we grow. So if you go into the gym and you're not seeking failure, like actively seeking to fail and not achieve what you need to do, I don't think you're growing.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. Wait a minute. Courtney, you got to help me with your last name.
Always. This is why I was like Courtney for life. Courtney Ustrzycki.
Courtney Ustrzycki.
Exactly. It's so easy.
Oh my God. All right. That's going to go in the show.
Perfect.
Courtney Ustrzycki.
Ustrzycki.
Ustrzycki. Okay, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here. We met. When did we meet? What year?
It was either the end of 2017 or the beginning of 2018.
And we met in Mexico. And why did we meet?
So I reached out to you when I was like coming to Mexico because I saw you and JJ as Canadians and you were into the powerlifting thing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's my people. Like I need to connect with you. And I don't know what actually, if it was like that Instagram message or something that got us connected, but here we are.
Must have been, and we probably ate tacos together.
Yes, many tacos.
We both love. We all love tacos, and you're the taco queen. So, well, that's so much. That's 8 years. We've known each other for 8 years, and I'm really excited to have you here. You've just been through such massive evolution, which you should be, which women should be going through massive evolution as you've grown into your passions. So when we first met, you were completely into powerlifting. Did you have your lifestyle app?
No, that wasn't even a thought.
So that wasn't even a thought. So you were escaping the cold. You landed. You were into powerlifting. You were already doing macros, correct?
Yeah, I've been doing macros for 15 years, probably like a little bit more than that. I've been doing it definitely for a long time. So yeah, the whole powerlifting and eating well and nourishing your body and not being as focused on what it looks like, but how it performs.
And this is going to be interesting because I know that you love meal plans when people are in contest prep. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah. So, I mean, you've just been through so much change. And I know we were talking kind of offline about switching from what if to why not. We were always into bodybuilding, contest prep coaching. That's was our bread and butter. That's what we do. We coach athletes to the stage, and we love competing ourselves. But when I met you, you were like, "Nope, that's not for me. I'm not interested in that."
I was so against.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So against the whole bodybuilding thing.
Why? Can you remember?
I obviously didn't understand it, and bodybuilding even 15 years ago when I first started going to the gym, I saw girls competing and I vividly remember this one girl at the gym and she was like, I needed to get fake boobs in order to compete. And she was just dieting and skinny. And she was like, there was all these like stories about like just inappropriate things that were happening and that it was like, it wasn't nice. Like there was nothing appealing about it. And it wasn't even about the muscle or the shape. It was just like this, not even a sex pageant, but it was just, it wasn't what I thought it was.
A sex pageant.
Sure there are like some either federations or certain parts of the, like in the world where it is kind of just not right. And that just did not appeal to me. I'm like, I don't want to be put on stage and stick my butt out to these guys who don't know me and just be completely judged and have my body torn apart. I'm like, I don't need that. And that's why I got into powerlifting, because I wanted to focus on what my body could do, not just what it looked like. So I wanted to kind of go around the route of body dysmorphia as much as possible.
And plus you're in a singlet, so you're pretty covered up versus a little bikini.
Yeah, just a little bit more.
So what changed your mind?
I was very vain, and I thought competing was...
That's in the past. You were very vain. Yeah. You're not vain anymore.
I have been humbled. I thought doing a bodybuilding competition was going to be easy. And the reason why I ended up doing the first competition, so obviously living in Mexico, there's not that many bodybuilding, or there's not that many powerlifting competitions. And really the only bodybuilding competitions were in the federation, right? So in like the Mexican or like the European version. And even though there's only like one powerlifting competition a year, I'm like, well, what else can I do? And I don't know if you remember, but I'd reached out to JJ at one point and I was like, I want to learn how to do the bodybuilding posing. Right. And I was doing like the lat spread and stuff like that because there's a competition that was supposed to happen. It never happened in the States. And it was 1 day powerlifting and 1 day bodybuilding. And it was like this perfect hybrid. And still to this day, I'm like, this is amazing, where it's like you show off what your body looks like, but then also how it performs. And I'm like, this is the best of both worlds. And I thought it was amazing. So I was like prepping for that. That ended up following through, which I was so upset about. And I'm like, well, I kind of like this whole posing, body, strong physique thing. Like maybe I can do it. So I didn't want to commit to anything too big. I thought it was going to be easy. I'm like, oh, I'm strong. I can go on there. I already look good. I'm eating a lot of food. I'm eating like 500 grams of carbs every day. I'm really strong. Like I can just walk out in a bikini and win.
Uh-oh. And what happened?
I won. I won my class, which was great.
Oh, you did win. That's great.
But when I did that, it was so much more than just like, oh my God, I won. Like I knew I could do it. I was like, this was hard. It was very different and it was challenging. But it also encouraged me to be like, well, if I can do that, like, what else can I do? And there was a couple of years, so it started to evolve. It started to like create these little like thoughts in my head, and like, well, what else can I do? And just kind of like push my almost like my limiting beliefs because I never thought I could do it. And I stepped on stage and I did it. But I was still like dancing back and forth between like the powerlifting and the bodybuilding. I'm like, oh, I can do both. Like I started thinking, oh, I can do all of this, which I was humbled and I realized I can't do both if I wanted to get really good at it, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so from there it all evolved into what it is now.
Now you were still coaching lifestyle clients at this time, correct?
Yeah, up until even less than a year ago, I was doing lifestyle. I was almost discouraging my clients from competing because I worked on the mind. I was working on like the mindset and the personal stuff so much where I'm like, bodybuilding looks really cool on social media, but it's hard. And a lot of the people, and you know this, like a lot of lifestyle clients, like they want balance. They want to be able to like go out and track their macros and have flexibility and this food freedom and stuff and not be so strict and rigid and routine. But unfortunately, like if you want to be really good at bodybuilding, like there's a lot of sacrifices, or not even, I don't like calling them sacrifices. I like calling them investments, right? Because there is a return and there is a reward and a payoff, right? And a lot of people who are seeking balance, you're not going to get that in bodybuilding, especially if you want to get really good at it.
So for you then, because I remember, you really, one of your big messages from the powerlifting world and Courtney for Life, that phase in your life was about balance. So like what happened there?
Now I'm like, there is no balance. So I realized that I wanted to pretend that I was the kind of person that could do both, that could be a really strong power lifter and a really good bodybuilder or competitor as well, because I saw other people doing it. And I was like, well, if they can do it, then I can do it too. And the more that I started like competing and prepping, and then so I did my first show in 2019 in the Federation, I transitioned into NPC and I was going to do my first competition in 2020, but of course that didn't happen. And I realized like the more that I started getting into it, and I'm like, I can't have this balance. Like there's little ways that I can do better and be better. And unfortunately, that means something's got to go, which means I couldn't maybe go out as many times as I wanted to with my friends. And I couldn't go out dancing, and tacos, unfortunately, had to take a little bit of a back seat. And there were other things that like had to have priorities. But I realized that as I started doing more competitions and started doing those things more, the payoff was happening. So I was seeing that like I have balance in my life right now, but that's not balance for other people because I'm in like a bubble. I'm in my like competing world and nothing else comes outside of that. So this is my own balance. But like for lifestyle, if I want to have like a big social life and go out with friends all the time, like I can't personally do that because I just don't have that ability. And some people have that ability to be able to go out and be super flexible. But like, even, like there's a time where things do need to get dialed in. And for me, I just need to dial in a lot more.
So for you, it's now because now you're coaching people, right? For you, is it in your perspective, right? Is it your personal choice that you see for you to be, that you see yourself being more successful? And the bar's super high for you. You're a very competitive athlete. It completely transforms your physique. It's incredible. I'm so happy for you. But is it your perspective that for you, you need to be a lot stricter, or that you need to really double down on your non-negotiables, but maybe you coach people that you see are able to have a bit more flexibility? Like, can you unpack that a little bit?
I find it would be the whole, like, people have good genetics, where some people can just like have that little bit of like freedom or looseness or whatever. But for me, I like to think, what happens if I go all in? And yes, I do have to be extreme and dial that up a little bit, but I would absolutely hate to step on stage. And I say this all the time to my clients, and it really resonates with them, that I would hate to step on stage and being like, man, maybe if I didn't go out as many times, or maybe if I just like prioritized my cardio, I could have won. So for me, I like to find out basically what the end of the spectrum is in terms of like going extreme and dialing things up. And every single time I do that, I see a payoff from it. I have never been like, you know what, I probably don't need to like be that intense with my diet, or I don't need to be that intense with my cardio, because I never want to step on stage thinking, yeah, I probably could have done better.
Yeah, I love that. Do you find, on social media, of course, there's very conflicting messages. I don't know if you've had this, but I'm dealing with this right now, where my clients are saying, "Gosh, I see this girl. She's eating more, but she's losing weight." And I thought, "Wow, I wish I had a coach that could give me, put me in a caloric surplus, and I could go win a show." And so, do you have to deal with that with clients, where they're very confused about what hard looks like getting ready for a show?
Of course, like we only see the highlights on social media. That's for me, that's for you, right? Like, even if we post vulnerable things, we're choosing to show that, right? Like, we're still in control when we share those things. And whenever a client comes to me and maybe they'll like share a video and be like, well, they can do this, or like, even, well, what about their posing? I want to do that too. And be like, let's explore that, but let's unpack it a little bit more. So I like to have, instead of being the coach who's just like, no, follow your program, I want to talk with my clients about it and being like, these are the options, and this is why I think this is the best approach. I don't know everything. I'm still very new at this whole coaching thing when it comes to competition prep, and knowing what options we have to dial things in, and different, right? There's 1,001 different protocols that we can implement. So what I know is only based on what I know, whether it's my own experience or my own like learning. But there's still 900 other ways to do things. So I don't like to be the coach that just says like, just follow your program. But whenever a client like brings something to me, I'm like, let's have a conversation about it. Let's see. And then let's kind of look at the pros and cons. And maybe there is a time where we can do a little bit of trial and error. And I'm always open with my clients. And I'm like, I don't know all the answers, but this is what I know. Like, what do you think about that? So I like to, I really like calling it collaboration with my clients. So yes, I am the coach. Yes, I am
I
guiding
use
them.
that same word.
But yeah, I like to talk back and forth, and I like to have like, we're both here. I never think that I'm here. I think that we're both here. And that's also that I'm not lowering myself, but I'm raising the bar for them. So their goals are just as important as my goals. So when they step on stage, I envision myself stepping on stage. And I'm sure it's the same thing for you.
Beautiful. I freaking love that. Yeah, keep that bar high and encourage them and show them how they can raise the bar as well. I think collaboration is so important. Education is just so key to me. I think I probably spent a half an hour educating one gal about, there's no secret, there's no magic to weight loss. It's calorie deficit, and just, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's all great coaching, is making sure that your clients hopefully are getting an education why they're doing something. And absolutely, if there's a time and a place to trial things out, then go for it. But there is also an issue with a lot of misinformation being circulated. And Jay and I shake our heads continuously. We think, gosh, it would be so easy for me to cherry pick a client that gets ready for a show on 350 grams of carbs. I can think of one of my gals. She's just, she has a metabolism like a hummingbird. She's in her 60s and literally on stage eating 350 grams of carbs. But then I have other gals, especially my gals that can really put on muscle easily. They respond so well to low carbs. And in fact, they wouldn't be able to dial in on a higher carb approach. So we really see that spectrum.
Yeah.
And we just roll our eyes
the
when
same
we,
thing.
when
And
we hear.
I'm sure you've been through it, and I've been through that too. In my shows last year, I was eating, going into my shows, 500 grams of carbs. I'm like, I'm going to explode on stage. Like, I can't. But the body changes every single time. And I think there's also, and I know that you know this, there's also a time and a place where it's like, okay, well, let's talk about this. But then other times, like if clients close to a competition and like all these thoughts, where it's like decision fatigue and the prep goggles come on, where it's just like, do you trust me? Yes. Follow the program. Don't ask questions. Just turn your brain off and execute. Get off social media.
Yeah, get off social media.
It's so distracting.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk about the reality of growth, right? I mean, I always say, choose your hard, like I always say, change happens outside of the comfort zone, and that makes a great slogan on a t-shirt. But the reality of it is so uncomfortable, and people often quit when it starts to get hard, right? So I'd love to pick your brain on that. I'd love to hear your perspective.
Growth is messy, and yeah, it's so uncomfortable. And I know that before when we were talking about this, we were talking about like vulnerability. And, I want to mention that vulnerable, like the secret to good growth or true growth. I really think it's being vulnerable. And it's not just about showing up, but showing like what's beneath the surface, which is what we talked about. And it's so hard. Brené Brown, I'm gonna kind of like tie that, of course, like I feel like everybody knows her. If you don't know her, you're living under a rock. But she in one of her books, she was talking about like, we can't be courageous without being vulnerable. Because we need to get outside of our comfort zone. And when we're outside of our comfort zone, it's like standing outside and you're naked. And you're like, oh my gosh. And like growth and vulnerability, like it's messy and it's icky and we don't like that feeling. And oftentimes we're like, yeah, I'll be vulnerable, but only a little bit. Like I'll stand outside naked, but only if it's pitch black at midnight and nobody can see me, And that's not where the true growth happens. We have to be okay at failing multiple times. And I think there's so much strength in that as well.
When did you ever feel in this journey of bodybuilding? When did you ever feel like quitting? When was it too hard? When did you think this is too hard? I can't do it.
Oh, so many. During my first prep, I remember I was doing cardio. I'd go to the gym every morning, and I remember that I have done preps where I've recorded everything, and you can go on my YouTube and you see me, like I've recorded everything. And then there's some where I did none.
I love that.
Because I'm like, I just need to buckle in. But I remember doing the first prep, and it was fun because I was recording it and making an event for it, or making like a show for it. But then there were times where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. This is hard and this is uncomfortable. And I feel disgusting and sweating and I'm going on stage and I don't feel good. And I remember like going into my first show the night before, I was by myself and my coach is like, have a cheat meal. I'm like, what even is a cheat meal? Like, I have so many food allergies, I can't have cheat meals. And I was just like, this is too much. And I think the fact when I'm still not fluent in Spanish and me competing in like a foreign country, I felt more alone than I probably could have ever felt. And like, I had friends and I had my coaches and I had my boyfriend at the time that was like helping me and supporting me and stuff, but they didn't, like my friends that were here, they didn't really get it. So I really felt alone, and that continued in preps. But then I just learned, in my opinion, I think it's almost better to do it alone because you don't have so many distractions. But obviously that comes with experience. But there are so many times that I wanted to quit because I'm like, this is hard. It would be so much easier. Like, I don't have to prove anything. I'm not doing competing for my business, right? I was trying to, even up until last year, I was trying to keep them so separate. And I had so much like unintentional resistance between these two where I'm like,
So how did you talk yourself through it?
With the resistance of coaching?
With the doubt, with wanting to quit or wanting to give up. It's too much.
I have used my coach. He's been my coach, Humberto. He's been my coach for the whole prep. Him and I have become really, really good friends as well. And obviously, like, there's a time and a place. Like, we have our different hats to know when we're friends and when we're coaches and clients and stuff. And there have been many times that I've talked to him and I'm like, dude, like, I don't know. And there's never been a time where I've said, like, I want to quit and I'm done, because he would show me the door. He'd be like, okay. But there's a lot of times of self-doubt. And that self-doubt is basically self-sabotage. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't want to step on stage and lose. But if we don't step on stage and lose, we don't deserve to step on stage and win. Like, that's not how we grow. And he's like, you know, you don't have to compete. And I remember there are times where he's like, if you don't want to do this, like, we don't have to compete. Like, you didn't sign your contract to do this show. You don't have to do it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I want to do it, but I want you to hold my hand and then, like, tell me it's going to be okay, right? And yes, we can have people holding our hands when we're being vulnerable and when we're growing and stuff, but ultimately, like, there comes a point where it's just, you just got to push yourself off the ledge and figure it out along the way. And I feel like my whole competing experience has been breaking through little levels of self-sabotage and limiting beliefs, which I never thought I had. Because I'm like, I've never been a person to sabotage. I don't think I've I've never been a person to binge, or like, I don't even want to call them like cheat meals, because I developed a really good relationship with food before I started competing. And I made sure I had that locked in. So like, food is food for me. And I'm just like, whatever, like, I don't even care. And I'm very grateful for that. But there would be little things where, and I really tapped into these. It was in 2023. So right after I got my pro card in 2022, and then 2023, I'm going into my first, like, my pro debut, and all the self-sabotage. I'm like, I'm not good enough. Am I a pro? Do I deserve to be there? Like, now I'm going to start competing internationally. Like, this was big for me. And I vividly remember, like, I could close my eyes and imagine myself. I was in the gym, I was doing hip thrusts, and I was like, I'm self-sabotaging. And it was all of a sudden, like, just this universal download that came into my head. And all these little things where I'm like, I have 3 sets of 15. If I stop at 15 or tell myself I'm done at 15 because that's hard, that's self-sabotage. I'm like, I'm limiting myself. What if I do one more? What if I do one more? What if I did that one better? What if, instead of just going over my macros by 1 gram, what if I dialed that in a little bit more? And it was all these little things. And from an outside perspective, like, it's obsessive. And it's obsessive because I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, greatness is always going to seem obsessive to other people.
Right? And I love it. So there's all these, like, moments of vulnerability and self-sabotage and breaking barriers and breakdowns and being like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I always like to think that right when I'm having a breakdown or like a burnout or something, the breakthrough is coming right afterwards. So I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. If, like, you're feeling that resistance, it's like, it's okay, because you're pushing against that door, and that door is going to open in a minute, but you just can't let up on it.
Yeah, and that's probably the hardest part of being in that messy middle is having those like doubts of, is this really for me? Why am I choosing this? Right? Is this is this external, this desire to do this thing? Is it something that I've accepted from an external source versus my deeper intuition that this is for me? And that's where it gets kind of crazy, because that, you see people giving up. And this is not for me. And then you'll often hear things like, oh, fitness ruined my life, or it was just too extreme. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure you've seen it around you.
Yeah. And this is where social media, I think, like, impacts all of this so much, because, like, just as you said, like, we see people giving up. Where do we see them giving up? We see them giving up on Instagram, and they're posting about it and they're talking about it. And it's great that people like you and I are always so honest and real when we talk about stuff on social media. But if we're competing for ourselves, I think there's an element of privacy that I think is so important. And that's why I kind of went through, like, my own little test to see if I competed and didn't show anything on social media, is this a sign that I'm doing this for me? And would I still do this? Yes. Because even up until last year, I was competing, but it didn't value my business, right? Whereas a lot of coaches, they'll compete and then use that as business promotions and advertising. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I do that now. And you do that, and it's amazing. And I really think that in order to be a really good leader, especially as like a competition coach, is you have to be in those trenches with the competitors. You have to know what's going on. You have to be in the same playing field, right? You can't just like sit out and being like, yeah, well, I saw them doing this, so we're going to do that too. Like, you got to be in there and you got to be involved, because that's what like a leader is. Like, like I said, we're all in that level playing field. And I think that's so important. But being able to like step back and not show anything on social media and really know that I would do this for me. And I've had those thoughts, where like you've maybe seen a post where it's like, if you didn't post a single thing on social media or you didn't tell a single soul, would you still do it? And for me, the answer is yes. I will do things and not talk about it. I will do my own prep and do my cardio and do my posing and be like, the world doesn't need to know. I don't need validation and like, good job, Courtney. Like, you did the things that you're supposed to do. And that for me is enough to know that I don't do that for that external validation.
How do you coach that for clients that are just getting started maybe? And I don't know if you coach a lot of beginners. Do you?
Yeah, I'd say most of them are beginners.
Okay.
Because like they see it and they're like, ooh, this is fun. I want to do this. So I do have some experienced competitors. I do have some beginner competitors. And
do you leverage social media then? Because I know we do. We're like, get on social media, get accountable, have fun with this. Like, get some other gals that can support you, can support them. Do you not do that at all?
I almost do the opposite, where I had one client and she was posting everything on social media. And she's like, I want to like document everything. And I'm like, that's great. But if you're going into the gym and you're like mic'd up and you're like, hey, now I'm going to do this set. It's like, what is the intensity that you're bringing? Are you bringing like this performance to the gym where you're like, ooh, I'm going to show everyone how hard it is and I'm going to grunt and groan and stuff? It's like, or are you so dialed in, you're drooling and you don't even know what's happening and you're so focused on that set and you're grunting and everything? That's what I want. So for me, that's what's more important.
I like that perspective.
Right? And I think there is a balance, because like you and I do the same thing. We go into the gym and yes, we use this as our business, but then there's also a time where maybe we go into the gym probably more days than not, where there's no video camera and there's no tripod, where it's like you just go in and you do the work. And I think that is so important. I've said that to many clients where I'm like, what happens if you weren't distracted by that? Because that's when I feel like it's that external validation, right?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes with fitness and socials, and all the filters and body tuning and things that are out there these days, like I was talking to JJ about this morning, heading to the gym, and I feel like it's, people trying to like, they want to be part of the NHL, but they only end up buying the shirt. And buying the shirt is not the same as doing the things that need to be done to be on an NHL team, right? It's work.
Right.
It's not.
And I find there's a lot of great energy on social media, right? It's what you attract. But then you can't control who's going to say garbage. But one of the things that I really don't like, and I always approach these conversations in a very respectful way, but when people are like, you look great, you're going to win. That for me is such an...
That's the kiss of death.
And it's such
I have lost more shows.
And it's so appreciated, but like, you're not the judge. And even my coaches could be like, my coaches wouldn't do that. They're not going to be like, you're going to win. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know what yes, we know what the judges are looking for, but every judge is going to have a little bit of an opinion, right? Everything's going to be a little bit different. So that's usually why I almost don't like showing stuff on social media. If somebody's like, oh, you're going to win, like you look amazing. It's like, thank you, but you don't understand. So I feel like I need to like shut things down.
Yeah. Just really staying in your lane, head down, be a soldier, get the work done. So let's talk a little bit about the pushing yourself and being self-aware about self-imposed limitations and really allowing yourself to go for it. I'd like to talk a little bit about that as a coach, right? How do you coach that with your clients and this is going to be a great take home from the people that are listening to this, because we see people limiting themselves all the time. And I think gals in particular, when I go to a gym personally, it doesn't matter what gym I am in the world, it's rare, sadly, that I see the woman working as hard as the men. And I know people are going to, gonna get their backs up on this, but I was just at the gym this morning and I see like there's 3 guys surrounding this other guy. He's on the hack squat and he's just like he's just, he's dying, and he was doing a strip set. It was nuts. And I don't see anything comparable like that from the gals. And, it's just as hard for a woman to put on muscle as it is for guys. I tend to see guys with their training logs, they're all in, they're like just going for it, sweaty, gross, making the faces, but I rarely see that with the gals. So I'd love to hear how you coach that, like digging deeper, really making sure you're milking everything you can out of a session, truly being all in.
I learned this in 2 levels from my own experience. I learned this with powerlifting, right? Because like you're pushing yourself to a true 1 rep max. And you learn, I have goosebumps just thinking about this, you learn what failure feels like when you feel the bar being crushed from a bench press, right? Even though it's probably not too much weight, like it's still defeating, right? Or if you fail a squat, right? Like you learn what true failure feels like. And so I know that extreme, but 1 rep max in powerlifting does not apply to bodybuilding, right? So there's like an element of like, put your ego aside, but you still need to push. I know that many women get nervous, like, oh, I don't want to get injured or I don't want to get hurt. And in all of the times, all of the years, over 10 years I've been coaching, I have pushed clients and not a single person has gotten injured. Now, I'm not saying it's foolproof. Like at some point there maybe like form isn't going to be good or something's going to happen, right? I maybe push them too hard. But I always tell my clients, like, just try a little bit more. And let's say it's like a dumbbell lateral raise. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're not going to get it. But what happens if you do get it? You just like tap into that awareness and learning a little bit more. And like when you go into the gym, the goal should be to seek failure. That is the place where failure is the goal, right? Like we don't want to step on stage and fail, or we don't want to go somewhere else and fail. But in the gym, that's how we grow. And that's where we make changes. So if you go into the gym and you're not seeking failure, like actively seeking to fail and not achieve what you need to do, I don't think you're growing. And so many women, yeah, they're afraid to do it. So whenever I always watch my clients' programming. So there's a lot of coaches that will just give, and I'm not saying that this is wrong, this is just my approach. They'll give their client, yes, a custom program, but it's like, okay, do your work and go. I want to see videos. I want to see what and I don't want just like 3 or 4 reps. I want to see your whole set because I want to see what you perceive as your best effort. And then I'm like, yeah, you could have done 10 more. And they're like, yeah, but it was hard. I'm like, you could have done more. I'm like, show me next time that you can do more. And I feel like when we're able to be at a level head or level with our clients, it's not that we're talking down to them, but we're there and we're supporting them. And we're like, I bet you can do like 5 more reps. Show me that you can do it. And they're not doing it as an ego thing, but they're like, yo, but Coach Courtney believes in me, so I'm going to try and do it.
Yeah, it's about the belief.
And then they do it. And then it's like, imagine what else you can do.
Yeah.
And it's just like a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. We're not going from 0 to 100. We're going from 0 to 1. Then we're going from 1 to 2, right? And it's just those little literal reps that add up that over time compound. And I've done that with myself and I've done that with clients competing and lifestyle clients. And it's so empowering to watch them like do things in and out of the gym that they've never done before. And they're like, guess what I did, right? Like those messages, they're like, oh my God, I did this for the first time. And it's so rewarding.
Yeah, I think I was at a clinic with Brad Schoenfeld, and he was talking about he was recommending that like beginners, and a beginner doesn't mean your first year. It's really in terms of your lifting journey. Are you able to truly train to failure or truly within 1 to 2 reps of failure? Until you get to that space, you're kind of a beginner, right? And so he was recommending just taking people to literal failure so that they understand what that feels like and what it looks like, right?
If you don't know that end of that spectrum, how can you measure what 80% intensity is or 90% intensity? But based on what? You just have 0. and you don't know where that end of that spectrum is, right? So yeah, I think, and I know that you love this too, but whenever I have a client that like comes here on vacation, I'm like, let's train. And my job isn't to destroy them and being like, I told you couldn't do it. Like, that's not it. It's, I want to see what else we can do. And then you just give them like those little golden nuggets and those little nudges and those little pushes, and they come
and
out.
your energy, right? Your energy. A great coach will help people accelerate in the gym, and also even a great training buddy. Like get together with. I remember you and I doing. I think it was you, myself, maybe Brittany or Marcella. We were doing Smith machine hip thrusts. And I was like, I'm just gonna do. I don't know. I think I was doing like two plates, 245s, and you were like, this isn't heavy enough, and you went up, and I'm like, damn, this little whippersnapper. I gotta Grandma Michelle's got to go heavier now, and that's how it should be, though. I love training with Brittany. I mean, she always. Because she's fun and she pushes, she knows how to push, and it really levels up your game.
It's you're boosting each other up, right? And it just like it fuels each other. It's not that you need to compete with the other person, but it's fuel and being like, okay, well maybe you can't do that, but let's find out. Up until probably about 6 months ago, I was against training with people. I'm like, I don't want to, and I'm still very, very particular on.
You got to be selective who you train with, yeah.
I don't want to go in and like train with someone, but then be the coach. I don't have the energy for that. Like, not right now. If I want to train someone, I will train someone. But if someone's going to train with me, I want to be challenged by them. So I love now training with guys. I'm like, I want to be the shrimp in the group. I want to go train with like the men's competitors, the wellness girlies, like the big physique girlies. Like, I want to be the one that has to keep up. I never want to be, and I know that, that Hattie says this all the time, to be the hardest worker in the room. I never want to be the hardest worker in the room. I want to be striving for that, but I never want to be there. I want
That's such a huge mindset shift for people to make.
Right? I want to be the one who's forced to level up. And I love it.
Yeah, you want to be always, if you're smart, you always want to be the dumbest person in the room. Otherwise, you're in the wrong room.
But
right?
that's very where common like vulnerability is, and like nobody wants to be there. Nobody wants to walk into a room and being like, "Oh shit, I don't belong here." Because there's that gut reaction or that initial reaction where you're like, "This is too much for me." But then leaning into that and being like, "I need to be here right now," and just like sit in that like icky puddle until you start to grow.
There's one last thing I want to tease out here, and it's because listening to you, I mean, it's so refreshing. How old are you?
I'm 37.
You're just so, I hadn't even started this until I was 40. Well, my 39 and a half, right? And so you've been at this for such a long time, and it's so refreshing to hear all of these things that you're saying, because it's true wisdom. And you said something, you said you don't have to compete with them, right? But I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate and say, I feel, Court, that you actually demonstrate healthy competitiveness, right? And I think for a lot of gals, we're not conditioned, we're not socialized how to have healthy competition. I think in the female side of things, we still see a lot of backstabbing and people climbing over each other to try to using each other to get to the top. And when I see guys, maybe it's a little bit forced, I don't know, but when I see guys on the Olympia stage where it's hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake, you see them like
fist pumping,
fist pumping and getting photos with each other and shaking each other's hand. And they know that, okay, this guy won. They know what that means to win that. And they're hugging each other and like really with tears in their eyes, right? Like, congratulations, you got the show. And I think it's great that there are more women like you, like myself, that really love, like Hattie, love healthy competition and are inspired by each other. And that inspiration helps us to push and to be excited to be the weakest person or whatever, right? I want to learn. I want to get up to speed. So I'd love you to touch base on have you always been that way? Did you have to talk yourself through that? And how do you coach that in your clients to embrace failing and to want to be on a tough stage, not to want to do a tiny show because they're going to be guaranteed to win, et cetera?
And I'm going to share something, and I don't know if I've ever told anybody about this like publicly, so we're going to go on for it. So I got my pro card at the end of 2022. I did my pro debut in Toronto, basically my hometown. right? And I was so excited for it. That was my thing. And I felt so good going into it. And my posing coach, Kat, the day before my pro debut, she got her pro card. So that day that I was doing my pro debut, she was doing her pro debut too. And I felt in a way that she was stealing my thunder. And I had to sit with myself in that and like figure out why. Why does it, I have goosebumps just saying it because like I'm almost
This is
embarrassed
great.
talking
I
about
love this. Thank you.
But like,
Yeah.
it's so important because this is so many things, or like there's so many relatable situations like this. And I'm sure a lot of people have things where it's like you feel like somebody's stealing your thunder, but there's nothing that she can do that can steal my thunder because my thunder is from within me, where it's like someone can't take your happiness. That's from within you. I'm doing the best that I possibly can do and nobody can take that away from me, right? The only things that we can control are our effort and our attitude. If I give my best effort and I keep a good attitude, nobody can take anything away from me.
How long did it get you to, how long did you sit with that messy feeling and then get out of it?
At least 6 months.
Oh, wow. It was a while.
It was because it wasn't even that competition. There was that one. And I was also so excited because I'm like, I get to share the stage with one of my best friends, which is really exciting. But then at the same point, I'm like, damn, like what if she places higher than me? And like, I could have been there, like all of these things. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that or have a similar kind of experience. And so she was doing a lot of competitions that year. And then I was going to do another show in Mexico. And I'm like, damn, I hope she doesn't go because like, I don't want her to steal my thunder again. I'm like, why is this bothering me so much? What is it that's in here that I'm not getting out? And for me, I had to really sit and think, this is self-sabotage. I don't want to compete because of somebody else, because of an external factor that I cannot control. There is nothing that anybody can do that can take away my power. And I really needed to sit with that. And every time like a little thought similar to that comes in, I'm like, let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's find the answer within ourselves. And anytime a client has this, or I know a client that didn't want to, she just recently did a competition, or not a client, sorry, it's this girl I know. She didn't want to do a competition because she knew who she was competing against. And it's like, if you go on stage and expose that vulnerability and expose that lack of confidence, the judges see that. And you're not going to lose because of her, but you're going to lose because your energy sucked. And that energy carries on with you everywhere. And if you can always have your best energy and just be focused on you and what's in your control, so much stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the pull, right? You got to learn to recognize that. And again, in that messy middle, when things are actually hard and your emotions are, you're really jacked, you're really in your, as Michelle Beatty says, your protective nervous system.
Yes.
Right? It's really hard to just back away from the bonfire, get yourself regulated, and then do the work. It's so hard to not get pulled. That's where getting off social media can be helpful because if you're opening up your phone and you're getting like, oh my God, you're continually getting triggered and it's making it even harder to do the growth work that needs to get done.
Yeah. Anytime I start to feel like resistance on anything, like if I go into the gym when I'm close to prep and I start feeling stressed, I'm like, that's it. Like get off social media. What things on my calendar, on my like mind that just need to get dropped?
Smart.
And I will block out weeks ahead. And I'm like, sorry, clients, we can't book calls because like I need to put myself first. And that's not me being selfish. That's not being like, oh my God, my prep is more important than you. That's my own well-being. And I'm sure that you can understand and relate to that too.
You're maybe ahead of the game. I have a lot of calls on my calendar.
I
know. But that's smart because you're really self-aware and you're putting that self-awareness, along with, that for you to be healthy and for you to feel balanced and locked in, it's going to be a very different set of non-negotiables than if you weren't competing, right? And then that might not be what you would give to a client, whether it's for genetic reasons or their ability to handle a higher allostatic load or whatever. They might have more flexibility.
Right.
But that takes so much self-awareness and really knowing yourself, not projecting and and being ready for the lessons that come up and knowing that when things are messy and hard, there's probably some pretty important lessons that if you can get through it on the other side, you are a new person. You have evolved. Yeah.
I almost try to trick myself that whenever I'm starting to feel anxious or stressed about something, or maybe I'm posing and I'm getting frustrated, I'm like, something good is coming. Just got to keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Because if I give up, that magic isn't going to happen. I'm not going to tap into that new level, that new layer, that new growth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Gay Hendricks talks about that a lot in The Big Leap. Like when you're feeling that worry thought or that anger thought or whatever is your tendency, when you're going to really like hit the limit of your happiness, just flip it and go, that's only coming up because I'm now here with my growth and my ego wants me to pull me back down here where it's like, I know this space, let's go back down here. Don't go back. There's something, I'm sitting on a pot of gold. Where's the pot of gold?
Yeah, right there. I just got to keep going.
Keep going. And look at you, man. It's just, and Jay and I are just, not that we had anything to do with it, but we're like, oh my God. We remember when she was just a little tiny thing and look at her now. And your physique is insane. And we know how hard it is. Yeah. Like, you're at the stage now where it's like maybe a pound.
Oh, you got to do all. You got to do all a million. Pound is like a proud pound. Like
it's a proud pound. And you got to do all those things, all the things, all year to get that one pound.
And
so
that's for me. Like I'm always in prep. I'm always focused. Always. Like off season is like growth.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people get beat. And whether it's competition or it's in life, like find ways to keep falling in love with the process. Find ways to keep refreshing your why.
Yes. Reviewing it.
Because
I mean, it can change.
Yeah, it can change. It can evolve. But you can't fake consistency at the end of the day, especially with the body. I mean, there's genetics involved, but when you get to that higher level, you can't. And running a business, same thing. You can't fake it at the end of the day. You got to put the time in, and you got to have the growth.
Yeah.
So I could go on forever, and I can't wait to see you in real life. I hope I get to see you in real life soon. When are you competing again next?
September, I think. But I'm really liking this off season, so I might push it a little bit longer. We'll see.
I can't wait to see the package you are going to bring to the stage. I'm competing in September.
Oh my gosh. I've never been this weight before, and I still want to put on like probably 5 or 10 pounds. I'm just about 130, 132.
Wow. I've been following you, and I know that for you,
but I've been like
even the low
110.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, I still need to grow. So you know what like good growth is, and
oh, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And I know that you got to eat a lot of food and it's not comfortable.
It's a lot of tacos.
It's a lot of tacos. And I have to do a lot of shakes. Okay, Courtney, let's wrap up here. Thank you so much. Good luck at the show. Hopefully this will get dropped before that date. And I'll definitely have to have you back on. And we definitely have to go for tacos.
Please. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. I love our collaborations as well. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Courtney.